What we got?
James, yesterday you said about the scholarships that like getting the 85 you weren't sure if you'd be able to do. Why? Like, what are some of the other factors at play there that you guys are trying to sift through? Like,
Well, because you got the 25 rule.
right.
So you got the 25 rule, and when you've had a couple years where you haven't been able to sign 25, it makes it difficult to get back to 85 in one class. That's kind of where it factors in. So we just want to make sure we understand it clearly, because it's being reported everywhere that we're going to be able to get to 85, and I don't know if that's completely possible, completely true.
Do you have a sense for how close you can get yet, or how long do you think it's going to take to figure that out?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to get close. It just there's so many things that depend on it at the end of the year. I mean, there's so many things that factor into it. So I think we'll be able to get close. I don't know if we'll be able to get to the 85.
Christian talked today about forcing some things, and that maybe led to some interceptions. How much of a balancing act is it as a coach with a kid of that talent level to say, don't quite force it, but still do what you're capable of doing?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think the talent really factors into it. You teach concepts. You also talk about going through your progressions, getting the ball out of your hand quick. In my opinion, in college, you never have to force the ball, because if progression 1 is not open and progression 2 is not open, in college, typically, progression 3 is wide open. And if it's not, hitch up and take off and go get us 4 yards. That could help us adding to the punt. That could help us get in the field goal range. That could allow us to go for it on 4th down. A lot of different things. I don't think there's any doubt. I think the point you're making, I don't think there's any doubt when guys have the arm talent that he does, they feel like they can make some throws that most normal human beings wouldn't try. So that's where I think it factors in a little bit.
To follow up on that, after an offensive series,
did you get a haircut?
I did.
Looks
yeah,
very nice.
I did. Yeah. Thank you.
Looks very
to follow
nice.
up on that, but I guess after offensive series, when Christian's coming off and he's got to talk to the people up in the booth, John and all those guys, what is your role in that? Are you talking to him? Are you looking to pull him aside, or are you kind of letting him, suss it out with those guys on the phone?
I typically do. Christian is so competitive and so hard on himself that he's very similar to how me and Ricky Ronnie were, I think, as players. So I don't think he needs it right then. So I kind of let him go to the sideline, get on the headset, get a chance to talk to Ricky, and then I'll visit with him a little bit later. I'll pull him to the side, some things like that. So I typically have done that, but it's all based on the kid and what their personality's like. Some guys you got to get after, and they're fired. Christian's as critical of himself as anybody. So it all really depends on the kid.
You mentioned Christian Campbell yesterday as someone who might see their first time this weekend. Having the scholarships back, is that causing you to reevaluate how you redshirt some of the younger guys?
Not really. I think you think about those things, and they probably factor in a little bit, but we had made that decision before we found out anyway. I think more than anything, we want to make sure that if we got guys that we think have the ability to help us on offense and defense and special teams, then they got to start factoring in for us. And I think the other thing is, we're just looking at our depth at a few positions, and to think we're going to be able to get through the whole year is probably not going to happen. So we better start playing some guys to get them ready. So if an injury does happen, you're not throwing a guy out there brand new.
Does it allow you to go back and maybe reevaluate some of those guys that may be on the fringe for red shirts?
I think it probably could. But I always make the argument, where are they going to be best, as a true freshman or as a redshirt senior? That's what you're really trying to factor in. Right now, from a depth perspective, we don't really have that luxury, which I've talked about all offseason. On the same hand, throwing guys out there that aren't ready yet doesn't make sense either.
I saw you guys run the Wildcat last week, but you're also doing the hurry up with it too. Are you looking at the hurry up offense, no huddle, to help the running game just in general?
No, it's just part of the guys that have followed us since we've arrived. I've said all along that we're going to have maximum personnel groups. We're going to have all types of different tempos that we're going to change. Personnel groups, unorthodox formations out of typical personnel groups and things like that. That's just part of our package. It's not anything different or unique.
When you mention guys like Grant Haley, Marcus Allen, guys that have been in special teams roles but need to expand their roles, how many reps do you ideally want them to have any given week to not to not, make them guys who can't redshirt, but they only play special teams?
It really depends on the week. Typically, we'll do that Friday night. That's our Friday staff meeting. Sometimes it's a Saturday staff meeting if it's a night game, where we sit down and we kind of go down a depth chart. We're going to go 3 to 1 at this position, 3 series to 1 series. We're going to go 2 series to 1 series, or we're going to leave this guy in until he taps. Depending on the position and the situation. I think, for example, Grant Haley, if I remember correctly, I think he got 26 reps, not counting defense. Not counting special teams last week. I think that's a pretty good number. A lot of it factors into how many reps is the starter getting. In some positions, we just don't have the ability to substitute right now.
James, what are some of those challenges?
I'm trying. I know it's like your third time. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When you're out here on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, how much are you watching things like demeanor and overall focus? And if it's never not where you want it, do you go off schedule? Do you shake things up in practice at all?
Yeah, I'm a huge demeanor guy. I'm a huge body language guy. Those things are very, very important to me. So we talk about it all the time. I usually say something at the end of practice. I'll also usually put it in my PowerPoint for the team meeting the next day. Maybe show a few examples of what I'm talking about on film. But I typically will not stop practice. Or I remember I've worked for people that they don't like the body language. Period 3, start the whole practice over. With the hours, the way we try to maximize the hours, you don't really have the ability to do that. You just kind of run through it. And to me, I'll get on the coaches about that, because it's their job to be the head coach of their position and make sure their guys are ready to play every single day.
James, what are some of the challenges when you have an 8 o'clock kick for both you and the players, as far as making sure they're not hyped up too early, but keeping them going all day? How do you structure that?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. There's a lot of things that factor into it that you wouldn't think about. How much you let them sleep. You don't want to oversleep. You don't want to undersleep. Meals. How do you time out your meals? Because typically you'd like to eat, 4 hours before the game. We try to time it, all those things out. Also, that they just don't have too much downtime throughout the day. You want to give them some time to maybe watch some games and things like that. But we'll have walkthroughs and meetings and try to spread those things out. So typically what we'll do is take some of our Friday night responsibilities and shift them to Saturday.
When you're evaluating how the running backs are doing, do you weight runs in the Wildcat differently than how you might out of a traditional set? Or is it just a matter of whoever you feel comfortable getting out in that situation?
I'm sorry, say that again?
When you're evaluating running back week to week, you have 3 guys that are good at 3 different kinds of things. Akil Lynch has done really well in the Wildcat, but he hasn't had as many, maybe traditional runs. Are the runs that you get in a Wildcat valued weighted differently as successful runs?
No, I think what happens too is you also kind of factor when it happens. I think last week, late in the game, we started to kind of wear them down, so I think that factored into it as much as anything. But I think Akil's done some nice things. But no, we don't look at the Wildcat differently in terms of production than other. We're always, we have first down what our goals are, second down what our goals are, third down what our goals are. Hey, Mark, jog off the field. Excuse me. I don't like him walking on the field. Sorry. Somebody kind of flinched right there. I don't know who it was. Yeah, sorry about that.
The music's in there pretty loud. I know you talked a little bit about that yesterday. What have you seen from the guys? How they're responding? And if you had any specific conversations with Hackenberg about how to handle the noise in Rutgers?
Yeah, we've talked about it with the whole team. I think this year's a little bit different with the fact that you're allowed to pipe in artificial music right before the snap is imminent. So, working on that, and we've done silent count from the first day of fall camp. We've had music, not as consistent as we've had this week, obviously. So just trying to get them prepared. To me, our job is to show them everything that they may see in practice before Saturday, and try to prepare our guys that way.
James, two more folks. James, some of the players talked about the biggest difference with you guys having the opportunity to go to the bowl now being that instead of just playing for themselves, they're playing for, I think, what you call being able to chase their dreams. I guess, how have you felt about that translating onto the practice field in terms of returning to focus? And have you noticed any difference in the chatter leading up to the huddle? Any difference in some of the ultimate goals that they talk about?
I think number one, this game, you guys have heard me say this before, baseball you play 330 games a year. Basketball you play 197. Football, we get 12 to 15 opportunities, so you want to take advantage of every single one of them. You know, and those guys work year-round for it. So for me, you know, we look at it as an opportunity to keep our family together a little bit longer, because this team will never be together again. After that, Rutgers, 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 and Rutgers.
Coach, can you just speak towards, you know, the bowl game, but those 15 extra practices now that you're actually going to get, you have the second youngest team in the NCAA. How important is that for you?
Rutgers, 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 and Rutgers. That's the one comment I'll make about keeping our family together a little bit longer. And after that, I'm more than happy to talk about Rutgers.
Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.